Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Derek Lindsay. I'm a producer, engineer, and musician. And I worked for Prince at Paisley Park Studios in 2013. And I wanted to just share some of my experience from the recording side of working alongside Prince at Paisley Park. So the experience is, if anybody's heard the story before, I always express that experience in like two different ways. It was a fun job. And I know some people are gonna be like, which Prince did you work for? What? All right. It was a fun job. It was a challenging job, more than anything. So the fun part of the job, to be honest, was to be able to learn as much as you can learn from somebody like that. So you get to watch, the way Prince produces, how he works with musicians, his work ethic. Just seeing how he works and the time and dedication he puts into his craft, you start to, by default, I started to realize that, like, man, I thought I was the hardest working person in the industry, and he just kind of blew that all away. So, like, by default, the recording process with him made me up my game a lot, let me know that I got a lot more work to do. I'm great at what I was doing, but you get around somebody like that, you can't help but to learn and reevaluate what you do because it makes you better. Not so much like you're in competition with somebody. It just made you better. So one of my main jobs, depending on which studio I was working in. So when I was like in Studio A, some of the work we would do would be working with the SSL console. We might be cleaning up the console, setting up for another recording, setting up all his drums, mic inventory, run his Pro Tools system was a lot of my responsibility there. Cleaning guitars, mixing. So I got to work on a song called Big City. And one of my first jobs was to go into the master Pro Tools session for that recording in his computer, which was kind of cool, just to see a lot of music and things he was working on. And my job was to clean some of that up and then like take parts from other performances. So he may have liked the way that the horn section sounded like on one night. And my job would be to take the horn section from one night and then import that into another session and just kind of blend things together just to get a comparison and make a couple different mixes so he could compare like how he liked the horns on this night versus that night. Bass performance, so just anything. It just helped him like go back and evaluate some of the recordings, which was kind of cool. So on some days in Studio A, one night we got to record the new Power Generation. So we would set up for a full setup and we would record. We're bringing a lot of players, musicians, singers, and then we would just literally while we were getting the SSL back up and running, we would come in and actually record them. So that was actually kind of cool. When some of my duties, when I was outside of Studio A, I had got a request for Prince to, he wanted me to build him a portable Pro Tools rig inside the performance area, or AKA the basketball or the gym. So where Prince has the basketball hoop up, that's where he actually had me build him a portable Pro Tools rig, and then I would set that up in, I think it was like Studio D. So there was like a smaller studio adjacent from the basketball court. So we would set everything, we'll build the rig, set everything up in there. And of course I had my partner Z with me. And we would set up everything in there. And then we would record Prince and Third Eye Girl outside in the gym area. I believe for that particular session, one of the members on the bass, she was out for that day. So Prince took over the bass duties, which was fun because he didn't want to put the bass down. And, it was like first close-up experience of like how good he actually really is on the bass, man. It was just like, oh, all right. So me personally, I started to find out that was one of his favorite instruments to play, all right? So we would do things like that. We would build like a portable Pro Tools HD rig, and then we would just record. So we were working on a song that day called Another Love. And I think we spent like half the day doing rehearsals and outtakes and things like that. The cool part is once we got the recording, and I'll go in there and have him record and go through his parts. Which was cool is afterwards we would be in the booth in the control room together, and he'll have me play back the performance from the song. And then before I knew it, we were just sitting there kind of exchanging knowledge on, he would ask me what plugins I knew about, or he was trying to show off some new plugin he had, and then asking me if I knew about it. Like, what do you know about that one? You heard of this one? You know about Sound Replacer? You know how to use it? You know how to work it? You know what it does? And I'm like, well, yeah, you hired me to do a job. So, I'm coming in pretty confident, like, yeah, I know about it. But we would just go back and forth. Like, he would be showing off different plugins and just kind of testing me. And then I got to put my producer hat on as well. So I got to produce a couple of mixes with him where he would ask me how I would arrange things. He would have me move parts around, create different fades, he would have me rearrange sections that just kind of give me this analysis of what I thought about his performance. And which I knew it was a test, but I gave an honest response and said, it was cool until the end. Probably could take it again, and we can get that fade out to kind of work a little bit tighter. And believe it or not, he was like, cool. He was like, okay. And then he went right back out, and then they did another cut. So I was like, man, that's dope. I'm like, I wasn't a yes man. So I'm like, he hired me to, give my honest opinion to make him sound better and do my job. So it was kind of cool for him to go back, get the band back out there, cut it, and then come back in, and then we would listen to it and then go through it, and then we would just kind of go through something else, depending on what type of mood he was in. A little bit afterwards, when there were days like we would just work a lot, and we just be recording and building rigs and running cable and Pro Tools, this, whatever. One day he just decided to give us like a private live show. So him and Kirk on drums, Prince on bass. And I remember they just gave us this like impromptu jam session for like 20 minutes, man. And they were rocking out. And it was cool. It was like, yeah, we get a private concert from Prince. So I had one moment there where I remember still having the keyboard turned on, and I wanted to jump in on the jam session. And I wanted to jump in, and I was like, man, I hear what they're doing. I know the key. I can jump in there and jam with Prince and do this and that. So I kept looking at him. We kind of kept looking each other off as he was jamming. And I started to try to give this hint to like I wanted to jump in there and record with him. And I remember he'll look at me, he'll kind of look away, he'll kind of look away. And then I remember when they were done, I remember going up to Kirk and I was like, man, that was dope. That was awesome. I wish I would have joined in with y'all, man. I had an opportunity like to play with y'all. And he was just like, it's probably a good thing you didn't. So I was like, all right, man. And what he was really trying to say is like, if I would have messed up his groove, I would have been fired. But if I would have jammed out with him, it might have, who knows what would have happened from there. But it was a lesson to say it's smarter to do the job you were hired to do rather than jump in on somebody's groove if you didn't exactly get the invitation to do such. All right. So that was one of many experiences that I had there. But what I took the most from that experience working with him was I learned more about engineering, producing, working with artists, performance. There was times where Prince would be working on new material and, he would get my opinion. He'll be working on a new song or riff on the guitar. And we had this thing where we didn't really communicate verbally with it, but we just kept looking at each other like, I'm like, man, like that's a dope song. And he'll just keep looking back and playing it just to get my response to see if I liked it. And I was like, yeah, it's badass. It was like the song Another Love. He was working through the parts before they actually recorded it, or just rehearsing it because I knew it was a cover song. But stuff like that, just sitting around him while he wrote and while he jammed, and then watching him work and teach the other musicians the parts, show them what they needed to do. And then, of course, they were the ultimate professionals one or two takes with him, man, and then, perfection. So more than anything, it was a cool experience working with Prince at Paisley Park. So what anybody can take from this is got to keep learning. I think I went in with a bachelor's in music, business and production and beat making and all that stuff. And I came out with a PhD in understanding how to really do this stuff on a whole different level. And I'm grateful for that. So it's a cool experience. Of course, I got more stories, but that was one of many cool stories that I had recording with Prince at Paisley Park Studios. All right.